Hello everyone, and welcome to Designing Characters, where I explain turning characters from my mind and other media into characters for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Here we focus on builds and personality traits, utilizing standard array or point buy with D&D Beyond's layout. Let me know what character build or video you'd like to see next in the comments below. I read them all and reply to as many as I can. Today we're working on Toshiro Hitsugaya, Shinigami Captain from the animated series Bleach and signature prodigal child genius. He's also pretty cool. So before all else, what goals are we aiming for with our weatherbender? First, we need to be able to bend and control the weather with a specialization in ice and cold. Next, we need a connection to our sword, making it a unique part of us and granting it, and us, magical properties. Finally, we need to be able to unleash wings of ice that regenerate and grant us flying speed, and even more ice-based powers. For our ability scores, we'll be going with point buy. Set strength to 8, dexterity to 14, and constitution to 14. You're unnaturally strong and fast, but you're still short. Physical power isn't really your thing. You rely on the sword and magic more for that. Next, put intelligence and wisdom both to 10. You're tactical and have a solid set of common sense, but neither really stand out for you. Finally, put your charisma at 15. You have unnatural innate power and an innate magnetism to you that makes you a natural leader despite your age. Now for race. You're an innately long-lived, lithe, short person. So we're going with a Lightfoot Halfling. This grants you a natural +2 dexterity and +1 to charisma, for a new total of 16 in each. You're also lucky, gaining the ability to re-roll ones for attack rolls, ability checks, or saving throws. And of course, you're brave, gaining advantage to saves made against being frightened. You also learn the language for Halfling. Finally, your size comes with advantages. Halfling nimbleness lets you move through another creature larger than you, and naturally stealthy allows you to hide behind creatures larger than you as well. Perfect for unintentionally disappearing in the midst of battle to flank your enemy while working alongside your fellow captains. Unless you scream in rage anyway and screw up the whole thing, who knows. Moving on to background, you were a simple child born in the slums of a large city. You never knew your parents and were raised by your grandmother to the best of her abilities. But the slums were a harsh place, and you were often forced to hunt and fight just to survive despite your size, even steal when necessary. As you grew, something began to change. Draconic blood within you began to resonate with your body, and sleeping began to spread frost through the home as dreams of a brilliant silver dragon began to appear before you. Your grandmother refused to explain this to you, of your true parentage, saying she didn't know the man that your mother had been with that had supposedly fathered you. Only that your birth was too much for her body, leading to her death. Eventually, this frost and power began to attract the attention of the local military, controlled by a cult that worshipped a being known as the Soul King, a celestial being of unknown origin. Realizing the natural magic and power you held, you were taken in by this cult in return for the guaranteed protection of your grandmother. Accepting, you were indoctrinated into the academy they ran, and your studies began. With this, we're taking a variant acolyte background, granting you proficiency in insight and investigation. You actually notice the oddities and the big bad before anyone else, as well as learning 2 languages. Take Celestial and Abyssal, as you are trained in the languages used by the military group, as well as the creatures you most often are sent out to hunt and track down. Finally, you gain Shelter of the Faithful, offering you protection, shelter, and food when stopping by churches and temples that are supported by this cult. Now, moving on to class. We're taking Fighter, representing your initial training in the academy. This grants you a D10 hit die and proficiency in basically all items, as well as strength and constitution saving throws. For skills, you gain proficiency in athletics and acrobatics to show off your intense physical conditioning within the academy. You also gain a fighting style. Take dueling to maximize the power of your katana? The sword you've picked up, and begin to channel your draconic presence into. The weapon is slowly becoming innately magical. It shouldn't be hitting lightly. Finally, you gain Second Wind, allowing you to pause and take a breath to recover more stamina in the midst of battle. For our next level, we're dipping into Sorcerer to show off the beginning of your power's manifestation. First level Sorcerers gain a d6 hit die. You now have a Sorceress origin. Take Draconic Bloodline, granting you a Silver Dragon ancestor, learning the Draconic language, and having an innate connection to cold and weather-based magic spells. You also gain Draconic Resilience, giving you extra hit points each Sorcerer level and natural armor equal to 13 plus your Dexterity modifier while unarmored. The robes you wear definitely aren't armor. You also gain Spellcasting. As cantrips, take Light to grant your sword a glowing blue aura alongside Gust and Shape Water for basic weather control. Frostbite will allow you to channel your energy into an enemy, freezing parts of their body and coating them in ice. Poor Kira, and way over his head. For your 2 spells, predictably, take Shield and Absorb Elements to create an armor of ice, materializing and shutting down incoming damage you're about to take from a variety of sources. Second level sorcerers gain Fonts of Magic, allowing you to burn sorcery points for additional spell slots. You also gain an additional spell. Take Ice Knife and fire a sudden long-distance slash of bladed ice at a target. Third level sorcerers gain Meta Magic. Take Quicken Spell to cast a spell, then swing your blade anyway. Alongside that, take Heightened Spell to increase the chances of your spells affecting the target properly. And for your actual spell, I feel like I'm saying that a lot in this segment, take Enlarge or Reduce, representing a far future ability to shift and grow yourself into a full adult when the right requirements are met. This also makes your sword swings hit with more force and covers your weakness and strength when needed. Fourth level sorcerers gain a feat. Take Elemental Adept and Cold to maximize the power of your cold-based spells, ensuring creatures that normally resist your spells suffer damage as per normal. You also gain an additional cantrip and spell. Take Ray of Frost for a spell attack instead of a saving throw, and the new spell Icing Death's Frost from Unearthed Arcana for a devastating cold-based blast. Now, a brief switch over to Warlock for a final dip as the powers you hold awaken fully to your blade. Take a level in Hexblade Warlock for additional spell slots, and gain a full bond to your blade, changing your weapon into a proper Zanpakuto. You also gain Hexblade's Curse to add even more damage potential to your spells and attacks. You gain 2 cantrips and spells. Take Minor Illusion and Prestidigitation, I think I say that different every single video, for a variety of minor Kido-based effects, as well as visual effects of your spiritual power. For your actual spells, take Armor of Agathis to cloak your body in an Armor of Ice, and Expedious Retreat for your basic flashed up abilities. Now a quick flash back over to Fighter. We'll be here for a little bit. Second level fighters gain Action Surge, allowing them to gain an additional action, in this case, to cast a spell, a cantrip, and attack, all in one turn using Quicken Spell. Third level fighters gain a Martial Archetype. Take Samurai. This grants you proficiency in Persuasion, representing your skill as a leader, as well as Fighting Spirit to pump yourself full of shonen juice and gain advantage on attacks as well as temporary hit points. Fourth level fighters gain +2 Charisma for a new total of 18 now, with your Hexblade increasing all your spells and your attacks. For a final level in Fighter, 5th level fighters gain an additional attack, allowing our combination of attacks and quicken spells to be much more efficient now. Now switching back over to Sorcerer for the rest of the build, 5th level sorcerers gain a spell. Take Thunderstep for an explosive blast of Flash Step in the midst of battle. 6th level Draconic sorcerers gain an elemental affinity for the cold, making your cold spells deal even more damage and granting you additional resistances to the cold in exchange for some sorcery points. For your spell, take Haste to finish fleshing out your Flash Step capabilities and augment your melee potential even further when necessary. 7th level sorcerers gain a spell. Take Ice Storm and summon an explosive storm of frost, sleet, and cold on your enemies, giving them a very bad winter day. 8th level sorcerers gain +2 Charisma for a new cap total of 20. You also gain a spell. Take Storm Sphere, representing your ability to manipulate weather even further and summon a storm across the battlefield. 9th level sorcerers gain a spell. Take Summon Draconic Spirit and manifest a massive draconic-shaped serpent of ice that does your will while it is maintained. 10th level sorcerers gain additional meta magic. Take Transmute Spell to change any spell you have to Cold at will based on the situation for additional damage, or Cold to Storm and Wind if the creature is immune to your frost. You also gain a cantrip and spell. Take Shocking Grasp and summon your control of weather to release a short-range explosion of electricity alongside Cone of Cold to devastate a landscape with frost and ice alongside your Draconic Spirit. 8th level sorcerers gain a spell. Take Investure of Ice to cloak yourself in solidified draconic armor of ice. If your DM is okay with it, Wall of Ice is normally wizard only, but in this case I think it's fair for you to take it instead if you wish. 12th level sorcerers gain a feat. Take Warcaster and solidify your ability to maintain your various concentration spells that grant you a significant portion of your prolonged power, especially with your tendency to engage in melee combat. 13th level sorcerers gain a spell. Take Teleport, allowing you to freely teleport yourself and others through a Dongai portal with your Zanpakuto as needed. Finally, our capstone of 14th level Draconic Sorcerer grants Dragon Wings, allowing you to form wings of pale ice that grant you a flying speed equal to your normal movement speed, finally acquiring your Bankai's greatest benefit. So now that we've finished, how strong is our prodigal boy? First, you're incredibly versatile, with a total of 8 cantrips, several rarely resisted damage types, and methods to alter those damage types. Several of your cantrips are also useful out of combat, and you have several decent skills to make up for holes your spells lack. As such, your utility in and out of combat is pretty high. Next, between your flight, teleportation options, haste, and other mobility spells, you're difficult to pin down with a variety of options both in and out of combat to help nullify the normal melee fighter drawbacks. And finally, your ability to control the battlefield and dish out damage through domination of the action economy is quite high. Quicken Spell, combined with Hexblade's Curse and other melee options, with multiple spells to buff yourself and cover wide ranges, make you an unfortunate opponent to try and engage with at pretty much any range. Now, these facts aside, there will always be weaknesses. First, you're emotional, and easily fall for many tricks on the battlefield when you aren't prepared, meaning your Wisdom Intelligence saves are both abysmal, opening you up for many difficult future encounters against illusion and charm effects. Next, your AC is 16, 21 with shield, not amazing. Role-playing a shield made of ice alongside the usage of your rapier may not be a bad call, getting you in a safer area for higher tier play in melee. What that won't help you with is having under 150 total fixed hit points, because that puts you in range for a lot of nasty spell effects at the high tier. And also, it just makes you pretty easy to kill. You're not very good on the stamina side, it's a known problem for you. Temporary hit points can help cover for this a bit, but you only have so much of that, and it's only 5 per round generally unless you start burning big spell slots. Finally, it's true that you're a strong contender in physical combat and magic both, but you're heavily focused on what you're able to do with your sword. Your physical abilities are high, but nothing without your magic to support it. Your spells are strong, but nothing compared to real spell-focused characters. You have utility and versatility, but not to the point that a pure caster should. You have the standard jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none issue that often crops up in these multi-class builds. But you're aware of your weakness. You know you're not the strongest captain in the cult. That's why you're not afraid to work with your subordinates and push yourself constantly. Use strategy, reach out for others to help, support, flank, and use teamwork to make up for your own shortcomings. But maybe try not to let people get under your skin so easily. You may end up losing more than one person that's dear to you. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please drop it a like, subscribe for more, hit the little bell, all that YouTuber jazz. But please do leave a comment so that I know what you'd like to see next. As I mentioned in my last video, I'm considering some other D&D content. I'd like to know what people think of that idea. Also, a fun little question. What's your favorite character from Bleach? Now that I've done a couple builds for these guys, I'm curious what everyone thinks. Let's go for favorite build I've done so far and which character period from the show you like the most. In any case, I'd like to thank all my patrons, but especially my Platinum patron, SPS. Your donations mean the world to me, all of you. If you'd like to join them, there's a link in the description below to my Patreon. Patrons get to vote on the videos that I do and have access to various variant rules, homebrew supplement systems, items, spells, and so forth there. You also can gain some special communications with me on my Discord server and can even be invited into games that I host and run on that server as well. But more than anything, I just appreciate everyone spending their time watching some of my content. Thank you all. Have an amazing day, everyone. Be safe, love each other, goodbye.